Hello and welcome to our card reading for the week of August 6th through 12th, 2023. Apologies, I tend to get these out slightly late. I get them out more like around lunchtime, afternoon on the Sunday, and that's only because I'm usually working all day on the Saturday, and I like to do these as close as possible. I mean, I could do some of them out, earlier, but I have a whole lot of other stuff I'm recording right now, so again, apologies that this is coming out a little bit later. So the way that I do my readings, and I've already laid my cards out here, and I will put this down a little bit so you can see. You can only see part of it, but I will hold the cards up, is that I will do, I do what they call a horoscope spread. So astrologically, this is the 12 houses of zodiac, and and what I do is I use a deck initially that is called Cartouche, which is it's out of print now. There is a version online actually that you could, if you were creative and so inclined to print your own cards and maybe laminate them and use them for yourself. Somebody has actually done that, and there's also a PDF that goes with these as well that I have seen. But these are cards I've been using them since 1987. Not this exact deck, but this is a system I'm very familiar with, and I'm using it with tarot. And this week we are using the Tarot Classic deck, which is, well, that's what it's called. There's another name for it now that you can get on Amazon, but basically you want to look up the Marseille Tarot, as Marseille is in the place in France, because this is actually a copy or a facsimile of that original deck. So I'm going to do that, and then at the end I usually pull some kind of an oracle thing, and today we're going to use my Norse runes. So I'm going to pull a rune for us for the, to kind of tie the reading together. If you like this channel, please subscribe and like this video if you enjoy it. The more that you do that, the more that I can get up an algorithm, because there are many tarot readers out there who have different approaches. There's some even that I watch and that I really like as well. But in order for this to be seen, the more people that like and subscribe, the better it is for everybody. So, and if you have liked and subscribed, thank you very much. Okay, so first house here has to do with how we present ourselves to the world. This is the house of Aries, and it has to do with our identity and how we present ourselves. And what we have here today is we have Isis and we have the moon. So the moon is, this is very strong water energy here. When I look at these cards, there's a sense here that we can't exactly see where we're going. Isis has a very strong element of the High Priestess, as we would see in the tarot, and the High Priestess is the one who's veiled, okay? Like Isis is, the veils of Isis. And, so there may be things that are not obvious to us. This card also has a very strong mother energy associated with it. So for some people, you may be in a kind of nurturing or sharing kind of mindset. You may be feeling inclined towards, compassion or feeling towards others. Even whether this is normally your mode or not. It just seems like a week where we are, perhaps engaging in more empathy and more trying to engage with people on a feeling level, rather than judging them based on, whatever our ethical considerations are, or whatever kind of social rules that we abide by. To have it with the moon, yeah, there's definitely a sense this week that we may be, and being the house that it's in, we may have doubts about who we are and what kind of action we should be taking. And the astrology this particular month is very tricky. We've got a lot of retrogrades. There's going to be a lot of revisiting of old stuff. So that could be a lot of what this is about. And when we look to the 12th and 8th houses in particular, we can look at that in detail. But yeah, definitely right now you may be feeling like things are cloudy, like you're not really sure. But Isis here also would suggest that there's a good reason for this. You want to be taking care of yourself this week. There's definitely a strong energy. And with Venus retrograde, we have the temptation to go out and spend like crazy on luxuries, or maybe to do something completely different, get a whole new hairdo, or, just do something with our physical appearance, although that's not usually advised during Venus retrograde. Sometimes between that and the upcoming Mercury retrograde, which we've not hit yet, but we are in what they call the pre-shadow period. You have all of this sense of, people from the past reappearing, situations that you were thought were done, now you're revisiting them. Could be travel difficulties once Mercury gets into swing, although, again, I've seen this can happen in pre-shadow too. Technology, probably not a good idea until Mercury retrograde is over to buy new gadgets or to sign contracts or to do things like that. So yeah, there's kind of a holding pattern here, but Isis reminds us that in this holding pattern, we need to look at ourselves and to take care of ourselves. Now, if I look straight across in this reading to the 7th house, this is the house of Aries, this is the house of Libra. As I think I mentioned in last week's reading, the north and south nodes of the moon, south node being where we've come from, north node is where we're going. And in your individual chart, that's going to be about what your task is in this lifetime versus what's familiar from a previous lifetime, or perhaps if you're not into the past life thing, what's ancestral. So, it's the past and the future. And right now, in general astrology, it's on what they call the Aries-Libra axis. So those of you who have a north node in Aries will be, particularly find that things are starting to heat up around this time, that there's going to be a lot of challenges and changes coming up, trying to challenge you to move into a new direction. So 7th house of Libra, we have the Osiris card, which is, this is about stability, maintaining a firm foundation. When it comes to a relationship, this is like an emperor figure. This is somebody who is who's solid, who's in control, who's trustworthy, whose judgment is good. Okay, so this could be about, this can go either way. If you're not in a relationship, this could simply be telling you that you should stand your ground, that you have good judgment, particularly when it comes to potentially picking a partner. This has got strong Sagittarius energy. So if you are looking for somebody, so this could sometimes, and again, this is truly not for everybody, but there could be this sense that, with Osiris that, you could have a Sagittarius coming into your life, or just a man who has got very, very strong principles, or really a woman. I don't necessarily want to assign gender to these things, although I do have to say this typically comes up in a more male context. But there's definitely somebody who's strong in control of themselves. And we have it with the 10 of Cups. So there's very strong family vibe to this card, but this is also this is like a wish card. This is like what you wanted. This is like, it's like a happy family card, although again, recognizing not everybody in a relationship is looking to have a family. But there's definitely a sense of community, rather than what we'll see with the 9s, particularly in Cups, the 9s and in the Pentacles. The 9s tend to be about more individual things, what you do on your own. The 10s tend to be more about what you're doing with respect to others or in community. So there's definitely a community feel to this. This is getting your wishes, but it's within a bigger context, not just about you personally, or maybe even just about you and a partner. It's a bigger group that we're seeing here. So this actually bodes very well for partnerships and for, being in control and being able to create a solid foundation. So, with this Venus retrograde energy, I feel like this is telling us that we have, we can feel here that basically seems like we're laying the groundwork for what it is that we actually want. As it's been said, retrogrades, they always say that relationships that start during retrogrades probably won't last. But I don't think that's necessarily the message here. I feel like it's like laying the groundwork for a relationship that is, that is going to be more meaningful in the bigger picture, that is going to be more what you wish for, again, in a broader perspective, not just what you might want right now. So, and as it's been said, I think it was on Minnow Pond Tarot, I think he said, it doesn't matter if your mom's in retrograde, but if it's meant to happen, it'll happen at this point in time. I thought that was an interesting way to put it. So I feel like this Venus retrograde could be giving us some very good lessons about relationships, past relationships, about where we're going, about getting our wishes. So we definitely see this strong foundation here. If you're currently in a relationship and you're currently married, this is very good for the idea of, if you're married and have a family, about, family harmony and happiness in that regard. So, okay. let's move on to the second house. This is the house of what we value, of money. This is the house of Taurus. And, this has to do usually with our personal finances, whereas the eighth house, which is right across from it, has to often do with the finances of other people, okay? Other people's money. So we have, Sphinx. Yeah, hold back here. Taurus is ruled by Venus. So definitely there's this idea of, wait and see. Be careful that you don't overspend. Make sure you really know what's in your bank account. Make sure you know what the real costs are of things. Because right now, again, is a time where we may have a tendency to impulsively spend money on things. And then later on we go, oh, wow, I really shouldn't have done that. That's really an expense I shouldn't have taken on. We have it with the Six of Swords. So I don't know, for some of you, maybe you're thinking of taking a trip abroad or taking a trip somewhere across water, because this often has to do with, moving across, the usual images of a boat going across the water with people in the boat. So we may be anxious to move on. Some people, this may be, about moving or taking a trip, but we want to wait right now. Okay, don't, unless there's some, compelling reason why we need to do it right now. There's definitely the sense that we should wait on things. Six of Swords too can indicate if there's been any kind of financial distress or difficulty. It can also indicate moving into calmer water, so to speak. You're moving away from this space where you are, where maybe you were feeling anxious or feeling limited in restriction. But it's going to be a little bit of a slow go. So, give yourself time to move out of this space. Take your time. Don't make any financial commitments or expend money on anything that you're not, especially big expenses right now, or especially something that just seems like, oh, that looks really cool. I want that. Wait. There's definitely a sense of wait and see. Now, if I look across to the eighth house, which is the house of Scorpio, and other people's money, as well as this, by the way, this is also the house of transformations. So this kind of sets the tone, as far as I'm concerned, for the kinds of energies of what's happening with the transformative energy right now, in terms of how our lives are changing. And yeah, we've got the Ten of Wands here. So to see that across from this indicates a burden or stress or needing to lay down your burden. Okay. And so now we have Ta. We have the this is the Capricorn energy, and this, so to see this in the eighth house, this is Capricorn in Scorpio. So you've got Earth in water. Not only is the best place for it, but again, Ta, like this Osiris card that we see here, is about building a foundation. It's about putting the work in, about trying to figure out, we're building the structure that we are, of our psyche, of our lives, so there's a lot that is kind of under construction right now. And, Capricorn indicates putting, as I call it, the elbow grease, the hard work into doing something. And we have it with, again, with the Ten of Wands, though there's this idea that we may be overwhelmed or overburdened. And to see that in connection with this, actually, if we're talking about other people's money, and this again will not apply to everybody because it's but it will apply to some, there may be a need to lay your burden down and let somebody else pick up some of the slack, especially financially. Okay, there's this idea that you may be carrying, you're working hard, but you may be carrying too much right now. So, because again, we're seeing this here. It's just kind of like, it's like when you have, trust me, I know the feeling very well. When you have too many things on your plate, or you've committed to too many things, and now you have to back up and kind of, say, okay, wait a minute, something has to go. Or, oh wow, I really want to do this project, but I don't have money for it right now. Like, you have to be able to do that. And this is definitely a time where you have to understand that you may not have all the information yet. There may be a lot of things that, we're still in a wait and see mode. Okay, our third house, which is Gemini. This has to do with communication. It can have to do with siblings if you have them. It can have to do with short trips, short journeys to places, not big long trips. And also, if you are in business or you're, commerce business, that also will affect you. Now, remember, Mercury is going to be going retrograde. Gemini is ruled by Mercury. So we have these two houses that are ruled this way. And well, we have Horus here. So Horus is good. Horus generally indicates a need to pay attention to your health in some way. And again, I'm not a doctor or medical professional, so this is not any kind of diagnosis for anybody. But I feel like the tone of it is more generally, make sure you're taking care of your health and taking care of yourself. In terms of communication in business and so forth, Horus may be a sign that you need to socialize more, get out there, because Horus definitely indicates like charisma and popularity as well. So, there's this sense there of maybe tying up loose ends, networking more, getting out a bit more with people. We have it with the Seven of Pentacles. Okay, so to add this for clarification, Seven of Pentacles generally indicates that we may be stepping back and looking to see whether or not the effort we've put into something is worth it. So you may be at a stage where you're making a decision about whether or not you want to continue down a certain course, or continue a certain line of communication or something. You may feel that this is something futile, or like you're wasting your time to some degree. So you may be making a decision about dropping something from your either somebody who you're doing business with, or some mode of doing business, or just something. It just has something to do with some idea that you've had, or something that you've built up that now just seems like maybe you've put a lot of energy into it, so you may be reluctant to let it go, but you might have to think in all the evaluation that is happening right now with the retrogrades, you may have to think about letting it go. Okay, so let's go to the fourth house. Let's go to this is Cancer energy. So this is about your home and your environment. And yeah, our first card here is the Queen of Swords. Now, Queen of Swords is very clinical, very cold. Doesn't necessarily have to be a female, but it's definitely this energy of, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, that kind of energy. You don't get anything past the Queen of Swords. And the Queen of Swords is looking at things in terms of their home, security, and so forth, with a very, very cold and kind of clinical eye. So in other words, this is not like what we're seeing in the first house. This is more about, just the facts. Let's look at the facts. Let's look at the situation. If you feel like you have been deceived, this may be a sense of your security is coming from knowing what the facts are. You don't want to be misled. You don't want to, mislead others. And if you feel that there may be somebody who is trying to get into your personal space or boundaries, this may be a stop. You're not going to do this. Okay, I'm holding my boundaries. I'm holding my space. And again, this is very, very intellectual energy. It's like, okay, this is the evidence for what I see, for what's going on, and that's what I'm going on, not any kind of emotions that I have. And what we have it with the winged disc. And the winged disc, to me, this is usually a card of victory, but it's also a card of clarity. It's the sun disc. Okay, and so I feel like, yeah, there's definitely a strong sense of clarity about a situation around your home or about somebody in your family. There's a very strong sense of clarity and a sense to look at things with that, not to let emotions get in the way in a particular situation. Because we may be tempted, we may look at it and say, yeah, well, this person screwed me over, or it's this or that's happened. Oh, but and then we have a feeling that goes with it. And so we end up doing the wrong thing just because, we think we're doing something compassionate when actually all we're doing is enabling somebody. There's definitely a strong sense here of stick to the facts. Now, if this doesn't apply to a situation in your life, sometimes this also just has to do with a clarity about our home, where we're staying, things we need to do, with our actual home, or our sense of security. This house may also have to do with your own sense of feeling at home in yourself, in your body. So your sense of security may come out of this foundations of wanting clarity and wanting facts, which actually is kind of interesting with this first house that says, you don't have that clarity right now, and this is what you want to make you feel secure. Okay. Fifth house is Leo energy, and this has to do with creativity. If you have children, this can apply to them. This also can do with creative projects that you have, and also love affairs that are, whether you're dating or whatever, not marriage situations, but relationships that are non-committed also fall into the realm of the House of Leo. And we have Anubis here. So yeah, again, we have this idea of boundaries, of protecting our boundaries. This is a very strong card of protection, but we also have it with the Six of Wands. So Six of Wands is a card, again, card of victory. It's a card of accomplishing something, of people recognizing you. And Leo likes to be recognized. So this is a very good card for the House of Leo. It is, Six of Wands is fire, and you have it here. So there's this idea of recognition, of being acknowledged for something that you're doing, or some kind of project that you've completed, or even acknowledgement of a relationship, or within a relationship, or maybe one of your children. But with Anubis, there's the sense of, so this may actually even spur a protective impulse, or a feeling like, while on the one hand this is good, you have the victory, you're viewed as the leader in this certain way. In that role, your next step may be setting up a certain amount of boundaries, because I think this is saying that you're on the right track with something. That things are good in terms of, projects and things. This is auspicious for, being recognized and being seen as the person to do something or take on a particular role, but or to complete a project successfully. But there's also maybe this need right now to, to hang back a little and go with the flow, because with the victory may come some challenges, or may come some challenging of your boundaries to some degree. Now, our sixth house is the house of Virgo. This has to do with our health, and has to do with, can do with your job, particularly in terms of, it's the idea of service. And also this is the house of worry. And as I think I just said health. Now, from a health perspective, again, for some of you, okay, and this, for some of the, particularly the women, I suppose it could be men too, but particularly the women here, we have Buckle of Isis. So from a health perspective, if for certain females, and again, this is not going to apply to everybody, this can indicate something that is hormonal in nature. If there's a particular problem, or you're having a particular set of problems and you're female, and particularly if you're female, like over 35, or maybe even under, it's going to happen at any time, really. But there's definitely this strong sense here that there may be, that some of problems, if you are having problems right now, definitely check into the hormonal component of it. Make sure it's not connected to menstruation, not connected to menopause, perimenopause, something like that. That's sometimes a factor when this comes up. Okay, for those not dealing with that situation, this would have to do with a sacrifice that is made in a situation, something that you're giving up. Now, being that this is in the job house, this could mean that you're going to give up a job or a type of employment. It could mean that in order, you may need to let something go. And actually that's very much supported by our second card, which is the Five of Cups. The Five of Cups is the card of letting go. It usually shows a man, the Rider-Waite version shows a man who is standing, looking down like at a river at 3 spilled cups. He's wearing, he or she, can't really tell, black in mourning, kind of staring down like in this mourning posture. But behind them are 2 cups, and there's also a path to a bridge that would take one to the other side. So the idea is that all is not lost. Don't focus on what's been lost. Focus on the 2 remaining cups. Focus on what you still have and on where you're going next. So there's this idea of giving something up, and this promises reward. It says giving something up, or being able to let something go is going to actually benefit you and help you move successfully to this next step that may be very unclear right now. Okay, so we did the 7th and the 8th houses when we talked about the other 2. Let's go up to the 9th, which is Sagittarius. Sagittarius energy, okay, this has to do with higher education. If you're in college, or you work in a college or something like that, or university, or working on a PhD, whatever you're doing with higher ed. If higher ed does not apply to you here, it could just be about expanding your knowledge. This often has to do with our belief systems, our life philosophies. Sagittarius is very much about, what kind of quote unquote faith we have, or belief. And it also has to do with long journeys, going long distances. So if you are thinking of a long trip, this might be a house to pay attention to as well. So yeah, well, it's interesting because we have the Three of Cups. So the Three of Cups can indicate a reconciliation with somebody. Now, again, that could be somebody from a distance. It could have to do with being invited to a party or a celebration, because there's a very celebratory aspect to this card. It could be, if you're going to school, this could be, getting together with people before you go back to school. Or just, it's going to have a happy collaboration with somebody. But we do have it with Lotus. So Lotus is a card of, calming anxiety. Okay, the Lotus, as we think of, envisioning the Lotus in meditation and so forth, this idea is that, there's a need for calming the mind. For travel, this usually indicates more staying still than traveling. But there may be something that there's an anxiety about. So for instance, if your kids are about to go off to university, you might feel there might be an anxiety about that. Or if you are the actual person going to university, there may be anxieties about, such things. But this is more or less saying, try not to worry. Everything kind of going as it needs to. And this definitely can not only bode celebration, like enjoying having fun with friends, but this can also indicate support from other people as well. So, particularly emotional support. So I think, this is, there's definitely, for some of you, this could be maybe this could also be like a reconciliation from abroad with somebody maybe there's been some anxiety about. But there's a couple different ways you could look at it. Because this is a general reading, I'm, kind of have to take try to give you all, as many possibilities as I can. Now, 10th house we have is Capricorn energy. It's ruled by Saturn, and this has to do with our reputation, how we are seen in the world, our status, and usually our career, what we're doing as a career. Again, we have twins here now. The twins, for some people, again, what I saw in this 8th house over here, this to me is the idea of trying not to do whatever you're doing in your career, whatever, by yourself. There's the idea of reaching out for help. For some of you, this could be entering into a business partnership, or that kind of, having a career where you're working closely with somebody, or there's just somebody there who's either going to be a help to you or support, or somebody who, like I said, may literally be a partner, or somebody you end up partnering with to do something that you're doing. But this is definitely the idea of not going it alone, regardless, in terms of that. You may be in a situation where you are overwhelmed and that you need support. Now, we have it with the Page of Wands. So the Page of Wands, again, this is about, pages mean new things. And in the Wands category, this is like new projects, new things. Pages also bring messages. So for some of you, the twins, with the twins, this could be a message about somebody who is looking to help. Or the messenger, maybe bringing news of something that will provide, somebody who's going to provide a burden or relief from something that may be stressing you out about your job, or about, your career, or where you're going with something. So it's kind of like wait for a message, and, and that look for help if job or career has been, something that's been difficult for you at this time. Okay, 11th house, this is Aquarius. And this has to do with friendships, our networks, who we engage with, and also the 11th house can have to do with our goals. So yeah, we have the Crook and Flail here. So Crook and Flail this is a card of status. I mean, this ideally looks nice in the 10th house, which is the house of status, but it's in the 11th house. So this indicates, again, recognition. We saw it down here as well, this idea of recognition with the 6 of Wands. This is a card of recognition. So, this could mean, feeling the love from your friends or from your networks. We have it with the Sun, which is great. This is the happiest card in the deck. And this often indicates that there's a strong clarity about something, or that we, or that there's, again, there seems to be a lot in here about socializing and taking time out to be with others, and to, be on this more emotional bent in spite of our desire for just the facts. This may be just a time to kick back and relax a little bit. Now, with regard to people's goals or wishes, I mean, there does seem to be there's going to be a clear path forward. But again, this may require some discipline or some work. Crook and Flail sometimes means, not only self-confidence, but self-discipline. So, so really, though, with the sun, I feel like this is very encouraging towards our wishes and may indicate that, we may get a boost from our friends. Sometimes this also can indicate somebody giving us a help or a boost. So we definitely have that element throughout the whole reading this week. Okay, so now we have the 12th house, which is the house of Pisces, and this is the house of what is, what is hidden. It's what's hidden. Sometimes it has to do with foreign travel and expenses and things like that. But primarily this, just as the first house has to do with what people see of us, this is what people don't see. Okay, and this may be what we're afraid of. And we have Scarab. So there is some fundamental change going on behind the scenes. And I think this is true of a lot of people right now. Certainly, and a lot of the clients that I've had over the last month, I'm definitely seeing this trend. There's a period of upheaval that may be going on, but you are in the process of a very deep transformation. And the fact that we have the Six of Cups here with it indicates this is something connected to the past. It's about, again, excavating something from the past, getting rid of it. Old attitudes, family trauma, past relationship trauma, childhood stuff. I mean, it could be both good or bad, to be honest, because Six of Cups isn't a negative card in that sense. But this definitely has a sense that that there's something from the past that we're letting go of, and we're opening ourselves up to this new beginning. Like it may be something we've had trouble letting go of, and now maybe is going to be the time. So we have that energy there. Overall, for this reading, we have the Pyramid card, and Pyramid. This is another one that seems to come up a lot when I've been reading for people this month. And Pyramid is a test situation. This is kind of like we're in this space where you're going to be tested. How well you maintain your discipline, how well you listen to your intuition, how well you're able to restrain your impulses in terms of material stuff right now, and how well you let go of things. Because we've got it with the Devil. So the Devil is about attachment. It's about what is it that we're attached to that we're having a hard time letting go of. If our sense of security is a bit messed up right now because we want the facts. Usually, what comes in my mind is we want to know. We want to know the outcome of something, and it's too diffuse right now. So we become very attached to outcomes. We become attached to things. We become attached to people, situations. And, with the Devil here, it's just kind of like, no, it's time to break out of that. In the Osho Zen deck, which I sometimes use, this is the conditioning card. And it shows, there's a bunch of sheep and there's a lion standing in the middle of them. And the story is about a lion who's raised with sheep and believes that he's a sheep, until another lion comes along and sees the pack and then sees him and then says, "You're not sheep." And he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm one of the sheep." I'm like, no, come look in the water. You're actually a lion. It's the idea of getting rid of the conditioning of like, this is the environment I grew up in. This is who I am. So we may be confused and unclear about what that means. And we are internally going through this big transformation. So this is definitely a sign that we need to let go of the past. Pyramid says even if things are kind of testy and sketchy right now, they will be good eventually. This is always a good news eventually card. There's a sense of initiation about this card, about passing through a gate. So that's our cards for this week. Let's draw our Norse rune just to see what we have as a final message here. Yeah, we've got Odila, and we've got Odila upright. This is the rune of separating paths. Okay, so this is literally the time of shedding. Outmoded relationships need to be discarded. People and situations that are not serving you anymore have to go. So this is a rune of separation. We don't like the idea of separation. We like to feel that we are connected, but this is where our emotions are being tested a bit here. And in this case, then we may be looking at this and saying, okay, the right and proper thing to do is to take that sword and cut away what isn't serving us anymore, and to do it in a very, as we see in the 11th house here, a very disciplined and confident kind of manner. But there's a strong sense that you may be overburdened. You may still be repeating past patterns that are not working for you. And, and it's saying now is the time to, you want to use some caution this month. You want to make some decisions, but the retrogrades are going to give you a chance to reevaluate and to break some of those connections. So hang tight if things have not been to your liking in recent days or recent months. things are going to change and they're going to get better. This change is happening, though, on a subtle and unseen level right now. And right now, you just need to make the proper decisions that will move you forward. Thanks so much for watching, and hope you have a great week. And until next week.